What is up, you beautiful mother punchers? My name is Quinn, and I host a podcast called And Volume for All. It's a heavy metal comedy podcast, but if you ask my listeners, they'll tell you it's just a heavy metal podcast. Today, I wanted to do something a little bit different called 4 albums for y'all. These are 4 albums, they're recent releases, really important to modern metal, and I wanted to talk with you about them. But before we get there, I also want to point you to all of the episodes of my podcast. If I know how to work this computer correctly, the link should appear right here. Did it work? First up is an album called Tavastland by the band Havukrunnu, who's been making Finnish pagan black metal since about 2009. Now, this band is obviously inspired by bands like Immortal and Bathory, but they include so much beauty and dynamism into this genre, which I think non-metal muggles would mostly consider a particularly ugly strain of music. In fact, the third song, Havukrunnu Ja Telvenvarjo? Been working on my Finnish. Anyway, it sort of sounds like Irish step dancing at one point. I know. Now you're thinking about Michael Flatley and Corpse Paint. See? And the title track, Tavastland, is about as brutal as you could hope for. But all of a sudden, they slide just effortlessly into this Viking shout-along, and I am swinging a tankard, and I am just getting hype to go burn an English village to the ground. Can't fucking wait. In addition to all of the black metal and the Viking metal, they're also bringing in thrash metal, sometimes around the edges, but in some songs, like Unisakav, the 7th song, it's right in the center of all of it. This is a great record, and as good as it is throughout, the one thing I will tell you about Havukrunnu is that these guys know how to finish. What's next? Gold, Jerry. Gold. Gold by the band Scour, Blackened Death from America, which sort of feels like the only thing coming from America these days. Sorry about that. So Scour is Phil Anselmo's side project when he's not touring with the other 25% of Pantera that's still alive. But it also has Derek Engelman from Cattle Decapitation and John and Adam Jarvis from Pig Destroyer. Panthers, cattle, and pigs. Oh my.
Question for Phil. Phil, why did you make this record?
Oh, I was tired of everybody making fun of me for the white wine power thing, so I wanted to do something that couldn't be associated with racism in any way. So I made a black metal album.
Are you gonna tell him? I'm not gonna tell him. So like I said, it's a mix of black and death, and I prefer the black metal more than I prefer the death metal, but I will say, Phil being a groove metal vocalist, the fact that he can so easily transition into these two extreme genres that are completely different is really fucking impressive. This album gets a little samey for me, but then there's songs like Infusorium where they're going down these prog metal tunnels that just totally surprise you. It's nowhere near the musical tangentialism of like Blood Incantation, but it is still really dynamic and impressive. This album by Scour has a pretty consistent sound, but it does get a little bit tiresome after only 37 minutes. But here's the thing, if you're gonna enjoy this album like I did, you're gonna have to go through hell. And I don't mean that metaphor literally. If you're on the fence, go take a listen to the song Hell, because that's the one that sold me. And the next round of Sauvignon Blanc is on me. Anyway, I think it's time to switch over from white wine to champagne because I love headaches. Tomorrow. The next album on the list is by a band that is known for pouring that fanciest of all drinks over their crowds while wearing golden masks, Imperial Triumphant. If you're not already a fan of experimental metal, Goldstar can be kind of a tough one. There's arresting tempo changes, really unnerving samples, and these super complicated polyrhythms that make for decidedly uneasy listening. This is not an album that you can just put on in the background. It really demands all of your attention as the band just swings wildly from melody to discord without any mercy or warning. In fact, it's kind of hard to define what the effect will be because it sort of depends on personal taste, like Soylent Green. So how do I feel about it? Let me put it this way. I don't enjoy Goldstar, but I love Goldstar. You know. No matter where Imperial Triumphant fits or does not fit for you into personal taste, I think the band is doing great and important work for the genre of metal as an art form. I love their project. I love their vision. I love what they're doing. And I will struggle through some of the music to appreciate in full what the album has to offer. And now for something completely different. A little bit of new wave of traditional heavy metal out of West London, Seven Sisters, with the album Shadow of a Fallen Star Part 2, Fallen Star Harder. Do you like blazing twin guitar solos and vocals so clean that you could eat breakfast off of it? I usually don't, but I think Seven Sisters proves that in the right hands, any subgenre can kick ass, and Seven Sisters is the right 14 hands. The album is 38 minutes of blistering, hypersonic space travel straight into the heart of the sun. I highly recommend the first single, Solar Winds, and the closer on the album, Andromeda Descending. And that's half of the record. There's only 4 songs, so doesn't overstay its welcome. Oh, and speaking of 4, that is 4 albums for y'all. Please, like, share, subscribe to this channel, and go check out my podcast. And I think I fixed my computer issues because now the link to all of that podcast material should be right here. Mother...